you find are for public institutions, civil service organizations, and non-governmental agencies, because they are not-for-profit entities. It doesn't mean that it excludes private entities, but typically, these are the type of entities that will fall under category 1 and 2 projects. Now, category 3 and 4 projects are typically for private sector businesses, because these are for-profit projects, because all private businesses are into the business for the profit, not they are into the business for making profit. The difference between category 3 and 4, again, I'm going to use another example of a project that is currently being implemented in Ghana. So there's one company called Jolly Crafts. They are somewhere in Dodowa. They are into consumer goods. So they do the drums and the artifacts and all those ones and export it. And they sell some here and then export the majority of their products. So they apply to IFE to ask for funding to build a development center as well as a vocational training center. The development center is going to showcase their products so that when people are passing by, they get to see what they are doing, and that's where they can get their workers also to produce the different products that they are into. They also have their vocational training center where they are going to train new people and then employ them to work for them. For businesses that essentially export to other countries, there's a certain standard that they have to meet. And so if they are going to employ new people, they have to make sure that these new employees meet that minimum standard so that their products will not be rejected on the international market. So the vocational training center is specifically to train these new employees, and then when they are trained, they employ them and then they work for them. Besides that, they also work with different groups, businesses, small businesses that are not part of their company, but that they also feed them with products. So they have businesses within the Bonga-Hafu region who do the products and then sell it to them so that they would add to their product and sell it to the international market. So as part of the project, they are also going to train these third-party businesses so that they are up to the same standard that they require. And once they produce these consumer goods products, they sell to them and then they sell it on the international market. So in this case, the job creation is not only occurring within Jolly Crafts, but then it's also occurring in third-party companies or businesses. So businesses that are not part of Jolly Crafts but that are directly related to them, and so they are also going to benefit from the training. And this makes it a category 3 project in that they create jobs within their own company but also in third-party companies. For category 3 projects, if an applicant is creating job in third parties, they have to support it with what we call letters of intent from these third parties. These are basically letters from the businesses that would also increase their jobs and say that, okay, as a result of this project that this company is getting or it's going into, we are also going to create X number of jobs. So they commit to create the number of jobs, and these letters of intent the applicant attaches to the required documents that are expected during the application process. And for businesses or entities that apply under the category 3, for the third-party jobs, it has to be at least 50% of the total number of jobs to be created, meaning that if, say, Jolly Crafts wanted to create 100 jobs, then at least 50% of the 100 jobs have to come from third parties, and 25% of those jobs have to be supported with the letters of intent at the time of submitting a concept note, and then 50% at minimum at the time of submitting a full project proposal. We'll go through the application process later on. The final category is the category 4 projects, where most of the Ghana projects fall under, and this is also for private entities who only create jobs within their own company as a result of the project. So for category 3 projects, IFE funds a maximum of 35% of the total project cost, and then the applicants would fund minimum of 65%, and for category 4, IFE will fund a maximum of 25%, whilst the company funds or applicants funds minimum of 75%. Notice that as the category increases, then the money decreases. This is because for category 3 and 4 projects, these are benefits that come only to the company because they are for profit projects, and so we require that they put more of their finances into the project, whereas for category 1 and 2 projects, this is typically not for profit projects. That is why IFE funding is increasing these projects. There are 3 key performance indicators that we look at. The first is what I earlier mentioned, the main objective of IFE, which is to create new and good jobs. So this is mandatory. The KPI 1 is mandatory. And these jobs must be a minimum of 520 hours or at least 26 weeks per year. These are permanent jobs. And it also has to abide by the, the statutory requirements with regards to social protection. So for instance, in Ghana, all employees are entitled to leave a number of days in a year as leave. The women are entitled to maternity leave. These are all mandatory. So these jobs that are created have to abide by the national statutory requirements with regards to social protection. And they must also abide by the ILO's core and basic job requirements. For category 2, this category 2 and 3, KPIs 2 and 3 are optional, but they attract bonus points. So for KPI 2, this is improvement of working condition for only existing staff, because these the new staff, these are yet to be created. So if for existing staff their working conditions are going to be improved, then these would attract bonus points. What do I mean by that? So for instance, let's say a company is applying, and as a result of the projects, they want to perhaps build a canteen where the canteen would feed the employees rather than them going out of the workplace to find food, to save time, and basically it works to the benefit of the company. The creation of the canteen is an improvement in working conditions. Perhaps they would want to get into contract with some transport agency so that the employees from the company would be dropped off to and from work at vantage points where it makes it easier for them to come to work. These are improvements in working conditions. And if a project is going to introduce these measures as part of the project, then it's going to attract bonus points. For category 3, this is also the provision of short-term or higher education. So for instance, in the case of geolocrats, they are going to train the workers. This is short-term education. And so this would fall under KPI 3, and this would attract bonus points. The next component, before we move on to the social protection component, we give preference to projects that combine job creation with the social protection, meaning that the job creation is mandatory. When it comes to the KPIs 2 and 3, these are bonus points. So it's not mandatory. You can decide to include it or not. It only attracts bonus points. But if an applicant includes KPIs 2 and 3, then it attracts bonus points. So out of the grading system, then they get a little bit more, and then it pushes them ahead of perhaps other applicants. Remember that IFE funding co-financing system, it's a competition basically. And as you may be aware, if you are conversant with donor funding, almost all donor funding is a competition. So everybody applies, and then the best ones are selected. So again, this is also it's also a competition. And so once you're able to make use of the bonus points, it gives you an edge over the next applicants. The second component is the social protection component. Now, whilst component 1, the job creation, is mandatory. So if your project is not going to create any jobs, this is not mandatory, but we recommend it because obviously your chances are higher. Because it's not only going to attract bonus points, but it's also going to attract extra financing. So when we talk about social protection, I've already stated that these are the statutory requirements. Beyond that, if you introduce any new schemes that go beyond what the law requires. For instance, in Ghana, we don't have any accident insurance. There's no unemployment insurance. We do have a pension scheme, but there's a tier 3, which is not mandatory. So it is not all companies that do the tier 3 for their employees. These are all going beyond what the law requires. And so if an applicant is going to introduce these new schemes, then on the one hand, it's going to attract bonus points. On the other hand, it could also attract extra financing. So what are some of the measures that would be considered to be eligible measures under the social protection component? It includes improvements in social protection of existing and new employees. So like I mentioned, if there's going to be health insurance, if there's going to be accident insurance, extra pension scheme, all of these will fall under social protection measures. And then also, majority of jobs in Ghana are informal. So if the project, part of the project is going to formalize existing informal jobs, then this will be considered as a social protection measure. And again, if a company has workers who are linked to the company but are not employees of the company. For instance, we have sales representatives who are not necessarily part of the company. We also have seasonal workers. If an entity or a company is going to look at social protection measures for these, I'll say consultants, who are not necessarily part of the company, then all of these will fall under social protection measures. Now, the IFE grant size ranges from 650,000 euros to 10 million euros. So under category, under the job creation component, depending on the category that you choose, the IFE grant, it should not be less than 650,000 euros, and then would also not grant you more than 10 million euros. Out of this amount, so for instance, if an entity is applying for, say, 1 million euros for the job creation, if they are also going to apply social protection measures, then what we are saying is that besides the 1 million euros, up to 700,000 of that 1 million euros, that 70% of the 1 million euros, can be applied to social protection measures. And again, there are sections to this, as in it's further divided depending on which option that you go with. So if, for instance, if an employer decides to do the pension scheme, which is mostly contribution from the employer and the employee, then IFE is going to give up to 30% of the insurance costs or the scheme costs. IFE is going to fund up to 30% of that. Within that 70% of the IFE grant, so within the 70% of the 1 million euros, IFE will fund up to 30%. If the product or the scheme is going to be only contribution from the employer, is not going to require any contribution from the employee, then IFE is going to give up to 50% of the total cost for the social protection scheme. And if there's going to be infrastructure, for instance, the example of the canteen, so the company decides that they are going to build, or let's say, a nursery, because we know that when it comes to work, the mothers would often have to leave their children, take their children to creche and whatnot at a very early age, because they have to leave their children and go to work. So if the employer decides that, okay, I'm going to have a small creche on site where mothers can come in early, leave their children, have the peace of mind to know that their children are safe, and work. And then when they close from work, they just pick their children from the creche and take them home. The construction of that creche, IFE is going to fund up to 75% of that, because that is a social protection scheme. Okay. So to be eligible for the social protection component, first of all, the applicant has to be applying under the component 1. That is mandatory. So an entity cannot apply only for the social protection component without applying for the job creation component. That is one. And then also, it has to be within the country of call. Remember, I mentioned there are 8 partner countries, Ghana inclusive. So in Ghana, whatever measures that you are implementing have to be within Ghana. And so it goes for the job creation, the same goes for the social protection component as well. Okay, so as I mentioned, beneficiaries include new or existing employees. It could also include family members of existing employees or new employees. So there are certain schemes like health insurance that does not only look at the employee but also looks at the families of the employees. All of these are eligible. And then persons who have a business relationship with the applicant, for instance, the sales representatives, the drivers, maybe you have outside drivers that you make use of, the seasonal workers, all of those are eligible. But just like the job creation component, public sector workers are not eligible. Remember that IFE is focusing on creating jobs within the private sector. What makes an applicant eligible for IFE funding? There are 2 types of applicants. There's the individual applicant and then the consortium. So as the name suggests, for an individual applicant, that's just one entity who applies for IFE funding. And this entity must be legally registered for a minimum of 3 years and be in operation for a minimum of 3 years. And then they must also be operating under all licenses that are required. So for instance, if an applicant is operating within the manufacturing sector, there are certain licenses that are required. They have to be operating under all of these licenses. For the second type of applicants, which is the consortium, this is more than one entity. So 2 or more entities coming together for a common goal. And in this case, the members of the consortium have to select one of the entity that serves as the lead applicant. So the lead applicant basically is representative of the rest of the consortium members. And the members of the consortium have to either be in EU, in Africa, or in Ghana. And then that's the lead applicant. They must be legally registered either in Africa, EU, or Ghana. And then they must also, at least one member of the consortium has to be duly registered in Ghana. Remember that the jobs would have to be created in Ghana. And then if there's a social protection component, it would also have to be in Ghana. So that's for consortium partners. Now, we've talked about IFE's contribution to the total project cost. What about the applicant's own financial situation? What we say is that we require at least 15% of the applicant's own contribution to be in cash. And we make it flexible. So it is not just the applicant's own cash. It could be in the form of loan, equity, investment from another company, however source of financial assistance, we don't mind. We are only saying that at least 15% of your own contribution has to be in cash. And then it has to be in euros. and it has to be supported. Evidence of the availability of your own contributions have to be supported by documents when you are applying. When it comes to in-kind contribution, what we mean is that, let's say a company is deciding to expand their production, and so they want to build a second factory and introduce maybe 2 new product lines. They need a land to build on. The land must be owned by the applicant. So if the land is owned by the applicant, then the applicant can say that, okay, there's a valuation report that says my land is worth X amounts in euros, and so I'm adding that as part of my own contribution. So the land would now become an in-kind contribution. Again, if before you go into any investment, you have to do your research to see if the investment is viable. So all the research that has been done, say you've done your market analysis, you've done to see the demand for your products, you've done all your analysis, all those ones will cost money because you have to engage someone to do that. So the cost of all the analysis that has been done beforehand, that could also be considered as an in-kind contribution. So the application process is in 2 forms. We have the concept note submission, and then we have the full project proposal submission. So the first step, which is a concept note submission, we normally would open a call for concept notes, and we usually would advertise this. Once the call for concept note is opened, there's a time period within which applicants can submit their applications online. Once the deadline ends, then we would review all the applications that come in and evaluate them. And based on the results of the evaluation, successful applicants will be notified. Unsuccessful applicants would also be notified and be given reasons why they were not successful, so that they can work on their application and come back later with a better application. Once this is done, then the successful applicants are now invited to submit a full project proposal. Again, they are given a duration within which time to submit their full project proposal, and after the deadline, these would be evaluated through a process called the due diligence process, and this is dependent on each and every applicant. So even though applications will come in at the same time for the full project proposal, some applicants may end up being successful and signing their contracts before other applicants who are also successful. So it's dependent on as and when your due diligence process is done, and IFE together with KFW and BMZ is convinced that this is a viable project that can be co-financed, then we sign the contracting agreements with you and we begin the journey. So the final stage is the financing agreements, signing the contract, and then beginning the implementation of the project. So again, only viable projects will be selected for a grant. Okay, so for more information about the application process, you could always go on our website, Invest for Jobs, search for Investing for Employment, and then you can find out more details about the application process. There's also a video tutorial for SmartMe users, because application is done online on a platform called SmartMe. Currently, there's no call in progress, but once we open a new call, we advertise it, and then we have a marketing period where the chances of putting in a good quality application. So what I can advise is that you can read about the application process. We have something we call the guidelines for applicants on our website. Currently on our website, you'll find the one that was used for the last call, which was the last call was opened in January of this year, and it closed in April. So you could go on our website, download the guidelines for applicants. Even though the guidelines is updated every call, the basic requirements, the essential requirements that would make an applicant eligible they do not change. So I'd advise that whilst waiting for a new call to open, if you are interested, you go on our website, you download the guidelines for applicants, and then you read through. It is true that we don't often like reading, but it actually helps, because you see, in a presentation like this, there are lots of things that I have not spoken about because our time is limited. So, but you find all that information in the guidelines for applicants, including an evaluation grade, which actually helps you to grade yourself and see how many points you are likely to get. It's a maximum of 100 points. So you're able to grade yourself depending on the requirements and see where you are likely to fall. So I'd really encourage that whilst waiting, if you are interested, whilst waiting for a new call to be opened, go on our website, take a look, spend a few minutes or hours looking through our guidelines for applicants, and then it would really equip you and give you a better understanding of what the IFE process is all about and improve your chances of application. Thank you very much.
You know, I'll ask you to clap again. So just do it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Labi, for that presentation. I would have a question or two for you, but we'll save that for when the panel discussion comes up. And then we move on quickly to our next presenter, who will be speaking on the topic Access to Finance and Export Markets, Exim Bank's Strategic Role in Empowering Ghanaian SMEs. And I hope you're all paying attention particularly to these presentations, because it's about how you can raise funding for whatever it is that you need to do. So we are not listening just for the fun of it. What can we do? Which areas can we go into? How much can we raise? What are the conditions? Pay attention to that. That is the essence of this section, this afternoon section. So please pay serious attention to the IFE bit. And I promise you, in the discussion segment, I'll let you do more of the questions than I will do for that particular one, because this time we are talking dadisani, you know, so to ensure that you can find the cash for this. So prepare your questions. You need to find how to raise this, the money. Our next speaker on your program is Honorable Sylvester Edina Mensah, but his a representative is here to speak in his stead, and that is Abdul Baki Yusuf Kadri. He's a highly accomplished professional. Thank you very much. But let me just tell you a little about him. He's a highly accomplished professional whose expertise spans banking, investment, and law. With a rare blend of financial acumen and legal proficiency, he brings a holistic perspective to business strategy, governance, and wealth management. He is a chartered banker. He has established a strong foundation in financial services, demonstrating excellence in banking operations, corporate finance, risk management, and regulatory compliance. He has a deep understanding of financial systems. He's a chartered investment analyst. He has an impressive track record in portfolio management, investment strategy, capital markets advisory. Question time, you are in trouble. You better get ready. In addition to all of that, his financial expertise, that is, he's also a UK trained professional lawyer. He brings a strong legal insights to his multidisciplinary career. His legal training has enhanced his capacity to provide advisory services on corporate governance, financial regulation, compliance frameworks, and international business law. His dual proficiency in finance and law enables him to deliver integrated solutions to clients and organizations operating in today's increasing complex global environment. He's a known professional. He has integrity. He's results driven. He exemplifies the qualities of a modern, well-rounded leader. He's committed to continuous learning and impact. He has a vision for leveraging his diverse expertise to contribute meaningfully to sustainable finance, ethical investment, sound legal practice. Let me take one last one. He has a strong background in banking, investment, and law, and he's a versatile professional equipped to navigate and lead in today's dynamic financial and legal landscape. So he was come to talk to us about access to finance and export markets. And this will be Exim Bank's strategic role in empowering Ghanaian SMEs. Please Abdul Baki Yusuf Kadri.
Thank you, Robert. I'm actually humbled by the introduction. In fact, I'm at loss whether I'm the one that is being introduced or not. Okay, anyway. I would like to go straight to my presentation. The chairperson of this August conference, distinguished invited guests, respected business leaders, fellow industrial experts, ladies and gentlemen. Like the moderator has explained, our Chief Executive Officer was originally scheduled to attend this conference, but due to pressing assignment, he asked me to represent the bank. It is a privilege to be here at the Boateng Business Conference Center 2025. I bring you warm greetings from the Ghana Exim Bank, the nation's foremost development finance institution, with the statutory mandate of supporting Ghana export competitiveness. I am pleased to share our respective perspective on this important discussion. First of all, I wish to commend the organizers for bringing us together under the theme, the future of business, innovation, responsibility, and social impact. This is timely. In an era of rapid globalization, climate pressures, unilateral tariffs, and what has become known as disruptive technologies, the ability of Ghanaian businesses, particularly the SMEs, to innovate responsibly while creating value will determine the trajectory of our national development. Ladies and gentlemen, SMEs remain the heartbeat of Ghana's economy. They account for more than 80% of our enterprises, contribute significantly to GDP, and provide the bulk of employment. Yet, their potential is constrained by three persistent challenges, namely 1, limited access to affordable finance, 2, weak integration into global value chains, 3, capacity gaps in innovation, compliance, and sustainability. The net effect of these constraints is a vicious cycle, one that perpetuates and reinforces stunted growth within the SME sector. It is within this context that Exim Bank positions itself as a strategic enabler. At Exim Bank, we recognize that finance must be patient, catalytic, and impact-oriented. Our interventions go beyond conventional lending to include 1, concessionary development financing, offering SME affordable credit to expand productive capacity. 2, equity and quasi-equity windows, providing risk-sharing instruments to reduce over-dependence on loans. 3, credit guarantees and insurance schemes, de-risking SMEs access to commercial credit by providing collateral substitutes. 4, capacity development grant, supporting SMEs to meet international market standards, high quality standards, obtain certifications, and integrate into export markets. So these instruments are deliberately designed to not just to provide money, but to unlock opportunities and to handhold the SMEs to the path of growth and prosperity. Exim Bank also believes that finance alone is not sufficient. SMEs must have structured pathways into global market. Here, Exim Bank plays a catalytic role geared towards positioning SMEs to compete effectively in both local and international markets by, first of all, the African Trade House. The African Trade House, owned by Exim Bank and hosting the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement Secretariat and the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, is more than just a building. It serves as a symbol of Ghana's leadership in continental trade. It is a one-stop hub where finance, policy, and market promotion converge, providing SMEs with direct pathways to opportunities under AFTA and beyond. For exporters, it represents both a physical gateway and a strategic platform for expanding into regional and global value chains. Our second intervention in market has to do with market development support. Here, Exim Bank provides SMEs with market intelligence, feasibility studies, sector focus analysis, and tailored advisory support to SMEs. We also sponsor SMEs participation in international trade fairs, buyer-seller missions, and virtual business-to-business platforms. Another area that we work has to do with, we cultivate partnership with export authorities. By working with GEPA, SEPS, Ghana Standard Authority, all these are to reduce trade bottlenecks. Lastly, sustainability and ESG integration. Ensuring our exporters are globally competitive, not only in price and quality, but also in environment and social compliance. Permit me to illustrate. In Tamale, a share butter cooperative supported by Exim Bank, financing and training, has transformed from selling unprocessed butter at local market to exporting certified organic shea products to Europe. Similarly, in the eastern region, a cassava starch processor, one struggling with inconsistent financing, has with Exim Bank intervention secured contracts in Asia. These stories are not isolated. They represent the future of Ghanaian enterprises. One that has deep local roots with global reach. Going forward, our strategy rests on 3 pillars. 1, financial inclusion for SMEs. Expanding tailored instruments that match the life cycle of SMEs. 2, market access expansion, leveraging AFTA and other trade agreements to place Ghanaian SMEs at the center of Africa's industrialization. And our last strategic pillar is responsible innovation by embedding ESG, digitalization, and value addition in all SME support programs. Ladies and gentlemen, empowering SMEs is not the work of Exim Bank alone. It requires a coalition, involving government regulators, financial institutions, academia, civil society, and the entrepreneurs themselves. Each of us has a role to play in building an ecosystem where Ghanaian SMEs thrive locally and compete globally. In conclusion, let me return to the wisdom of our conference team. The future of business in Ghana will indeed be shaped by innovation, strengthened by responsibility, and measured by social impact. Exim Bank remains committed to being a trusted partner on this journey to unlocking finance, enabling export, and empowering SMEs. I thank you, and I look forward to our continued collaboration. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, more applause. Thank you. I will move us right along by inviting my panelists to come up here quickly so we can move on to do our discussion. Would you do us the honors? I probably shouldn't have allowed Abdul Ubaki to leave at all. So Abdul, please come up now. Take a seat. I hope they can, okay, those bottles of water, this has been used. If you can replace it for whoever sits closest to me at the end of the day. Thank you, Abdul, for coming up. I'll also invite Mrs. Ajwa Labi to join us right now. And then, of course, Mr. Kwesi Kumsin. It's not here. Okay, all right. So I have my two to do business with. I will also be mindful of the time. I think that originally the other one went about 30 whole minutes beyond the allotted time. So you have your microphone. Okay, I'm sure you have yours too at the end. My water is okay. So I hope you have your questions ready. As I said, I'll come to you much sooner than I did the last time around. We are essentially talking financing, accessing. This is a key discussion, you know, especially for a lot of them out here. I'm sure they're all asking themselves, we have some great ideas, we have some great plans. We heard your submissions and what they can get and all. I just want to start generally before we zero in on IFE and the Exim Bank. Generally, are you able to help us, everybody understand, what are the sources of funding they can look at, you know, in order to do their things? That's what ideas, we all have them. I mean, sometimes I go to bed, even me, I picture a building with people here and there and Professor Chulik in the corner killing the accounting side of things for us, but when I open my eyes, it doesn't look like that. There has to be some funding to make it happen. What can they look at? You know, what are the sources or options that they need to pay attention to? Let's begin with you, Ajwa, if I may call you so.
Okay, yeah, it's working now.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so for businesses, they have, I'd leave the finance aspect to the finance expert, but in terms of grants, there are quite a number of grant systems available. For instance, we have the GSDF, Ghana Skills Development Fund. We have the MasterCard Foundation. We have funding from European Union. We also have from Germany, under Invest for Jobs, we have IFE that's funded by KFW, and then we also have GIZ, who also work with giving technical skills and some minimum financing to projects. So there are different projects under the GIZ umbrella. So there are quite a number of them.
Okay.
People will just have to do a bit of research to know what sort of, in terms of grant financing, what sort of funding system is out there.
So when we say grant financing, can you explain to us what is a grant? As opposed to the traditional, I'm going to a bank or I'm going to some Shylock. And you know, in Ghana, the percentages can be outrageous depending on where you go to, even on the US dollar or euro or anything. So your area is largely grant financing. Can you explain to us what grants are?
Okay. So grants, basically, as it suggests, these are monies. There's a saying that we have that it's free money, but it's not necessarily easy money. Yes. So it's usually grants mostly from donor partners. It could be from governments of countries or from institutions that are specifically set up for such things. So basically, grants are given. It is not a loan. It is free money that is given with a specific purpose. To the main point or the main objective is to improve businesses in terms of whether the technical skills that they need or whether to provide financing to basically increase production or improve the business. So, but the core point is that this is money that is given to businesses without them having to pay it back. So it's basically free money.
So I'm staying on you for a reason. It's free. There's no loan. But you say at the same time it's still not easy.
Yes.
What makes it so not easy?
So the reason why I'm saying it's not easy money is that usually it comes from donor funds, and these donor funds are usually taxpayers' money from other countries. Just as Ghana, we pay our taxes, and we heard from the previous session how important it is. So we expect our monies to be used right. The same way these countries also, their taxpayers expect their monies to be used right. And so there are certain requirements that are depending on the type of grant and the type of donor. There are certain requirements that have to be adhered to. And it's not easy because the requirements are usually stringent because they look out for businesses that, excuse me to say, but are serious-minded, that are going to use the money well, and they can show it to their taxpayers that your money was used for the right reasons and that it was not misused.
All right, so I hope that's clear. That's for grants. Now let me move over to Abdul Baki. Abdul, what are the other sources that may be available? We are clear about grants. We'll get into IFE details. But for now, as a finance person, what are the other sources available beyond grants?
Thank you for this opportunity. Regarding sources of financing, at Exim Bank, we have largely 3 sources of financing. But beyond the 3, we have variations of them that we can create multiple sources of financing. So the first source of financing is loan, which everybody in this room knows about. Loan in the sense that there is an obligation on you to pay back what you have borrowed plus interest. But the good news is that in Exim Bank, our loans are given at concessionary rate. Concessionary rate in the sense that we are giving it below market rate. So currently, if you go to the credit market, the rates that are being charged, at least you get anything above 25% on average. But at Exim Bank, what we are giving you at most will be currently our interest rate is around 15%, which is 10 percentage points below the market. And if you are looking at in terms of percentage point, it's a huge allowance that we have given you. Then we also have equity. So equity financing here, we are also taking the position of an investor. We want to be more or less like a partner with you. So instead of you financing a project with 100% debt, let me put it that, if you can get that, but most banks will not allow you 100% debt. Maybe there will be some equity. They will expect that you should bring your own contribution. So that your own contribution to the project is what the bankers will call your equity, your skin in the game. So if the project is going to cost say 100 cedis and you are bringing 30 cedis, that means that you are going to get the 70 from loans. Exim Bank can come in and give you an equity of say 29, because in our investment we don't want to become the majority shareholder. We still want you to be the one in charge. So we'll give something below you. So if you are bringing 30, we can bring 29. So here we have increased the equity cushion. The implication is that you are not going to borrow 70 again. You will be borrowing somewhere 40. So the interest you will pay on the 40 is much lower. So that is the advantage that the equity will give you. We also give guarantees and credit insurance. So with the guarantees, oftentimes you can come to us, and what we are going to give you, we may be constrained by our capacity, because prudential lending requires that you should cap how much you can give to an individual. And sometimes too, there might be some areas which are not in line with our strategy. Even though your proposal is good, but it has come at a time that we are not considering that sector. So we cannot give you funding because you are not in line with our priorities. But we will not just let you go. Maybe your alternative is to go to the commercial banks. And the problems most SMEs have, one of them is collaterals when they want to access funding from the commercial banks. So here we can give you a guarantee that will substitute as collateral for you to be able to take the lending there. Even though it still gives us some exposure, but at least we are not giving you direct funding. Then we also have a facility, my sister explained, grant. We give grant, and oftentimes people term it free money because you are not expected to pay it back. Well, you are not going to pay, but there are some obligations that you have to comply with. And if you are not very disciplined, then you will see that the grant becomes very, very difficult for you, because it's something you are not paying. So and mind you, we represent the government, so it's a public fund. We can't just throw it away like that. So we will have to put greater accountability mechanisms around the money. So we will give you grant. And the areas we normally give grant has to do with maybe you have things that inure to the public benefit. For example, you have set up a farm, and where the farm is located, you want to add a factory, but there is no electricity in that area. We can help you to buy transformers so that you can step down the power line from the national grid. So also, the road to your farm may be so bad. We must accept that it is the Ministry of Roads' responsibility. But if we are going to wait for them to come and grade the road or give you that feeder road, you will lose out the market. So we can come and give you feeder road. We can do the graveling for your road to be motorable. That will facilitate market. Again, you want to do certification. For example, ISO 14001 is one of the requirements if you want to be ESG compliant. And goods that are moving to Europe requires that certification. And going through the process sometimes is expensive. Exim can come to help you by contributing in a form of grant to do that process for you. So basically, these are the sources of funding that we have. But on top of all these things, we have advisory services department. So when we give you the money, we also give you advisory because our researchers are always working within the West African sub-region and even Europe. We have even subscribed to International Market Research Institute where they give us data about countries. So we can give you advice if you are going to this country. These are the opportunities and the risk you are likely to face. All these things are what we do. And our cooperation with GEPA, we give them funding to always do training for will-be prospective exporters. So if you are thinking of going to the export market, but you don't know, you don't have the skill, GEPA in collaboration with Exim Bank can give you the necessary training so that you'll be well informed as to how to go about it. Thank you.
No, this is very, very important. I'm interested in staying with you on Exim. So do you help startups? I'm sure there are a lot of people who are thinking startups here at this stage want to go into a particular area of activity. It may be just one person. It may be a collection of friends. Will they qualify for assistance from Exim Bank?
Yeah. Exim Bank, let me give you the background. We are a development bank and we are not under the control and supervision of Bank of Ghana. And it's done that way deliberately for one reason. The commercial banks, by their nature, there are certain risks they may not be able to take. But Exim Bank as a development bank, we should go to places where the commercial banks cannot go. So to come to your question, we fund startups. We term them greenfields. There are a lot of projects across the country. They are just fresh. They have never had any history of operation. They just brought a business plan, and on the strength of the business plan, we give them funding. So we fund startups.
Interesting. Yeah. Ajua, what about you? Startups. Because I'm sure there are people here who are imagining themselves as the next big thing, but they must start from somewhere. Can they come to IFE?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
We don't fund startups.
Why is that?
Well, again, it goes back to the requirements of each grant system. So there are some grant financing that specifically looks at startups. But Robert, what you find is that most grant systems will look at businesses that are at least a year old. The reason being that it also goes back to the sources of funding. And so, and it's an investment. And you'd agree that if you are investing in a business, you want to be sure that you get dividends. In the case of grants, the dividend is not monetary. It is the key performance indicators that we look out for. And so you want to make sure that these ones will be achieved. The thing with startups is that there's the chance that a percentage of them will not be successful. Unfortunately, that's a hard truth. And so we don't want to risk that. So we would rather look at businesses that have caused a certain threshold that we are sure that they are going to be sustainable. Because we are also not just thinking about investing in your project, but we are looking at sustainability of the project and of your company as well. So we don't want a situation where we would invest in it and then 3 years down the line, then the company collapses. That would have been investments that have been have not really yielded the benefits. So that's the main reason why.
I do get that. And of course, even if you were to go to, say, California, it's the base for startups in the world. You know, they understand that 50% will fail in the first, second year. So I get what you're saying. Are you saying that that's notwithstanding, Exim Bank takes the risk, pushes them, and hopes that they do well, and that even if they don't do well, you don't come crying?
Yeah, exactly that. Because if you look at our equity windows,
Yes.
they are meant for that. Because when you are investing in equity, actually, it's a risk you are taking. And one of the investment philosophies regarding equity is always that over 70 to 80% of the businesses that you are going to invest in are going to fail. It's something you should be willing to accept. But the 20% that will survive, if they are managed well, the payoff will more than offset the losses that you would accumulate from the 80%.
Let me come back to you, Ajua. So IFE, can you give us an idea of the types of businesses you are supporting? I mean, I listened to your presentation. I saw that a lot of it has to do with, you're looking at the social capital benefits coming out of this. It's also, I saw individual, private, for profit, but I think the concentration was more on the non-profits, right? Or it wasn't? No.
The concentration is not on the non-profits.
Okay.
We encourage public sector applicants because one of the driving forces behind IFE was to remove investment barriers. He was talking about feeder roads.
Yes.
Now imagine, how can the farmer build that factory if the feeder roads leading to his farm are not in good shape? So that's an investment barrier.
Yes.
So the driving force behind IFE was to initially remove these investment barriers so that it would create a conducive environment for businesses to be able to invest in their projects. But then we realized that aside from the investment hurdles, there's also another hurdle in the form of financing. So yes, you can create the conducive environment, but if they don't have the funding for the project, then they can't invest. So that also became a part of it. So we do not concentrate on not for profit, no, but we only encourage public sector institutions to remove the investment barriers because that was the driving force. But we give a fair playing field to every applicant.
So do you give loans?
We don't give loans.
You don't give loans because that's also important. It's a grant system.
Yes.
It's a pure grant system.
Yes.
Even if you are not in the public sector, you are not a non-profit, it's a grant, and so that's why you are very protective of the areas. Are there areas you will not go to?
Yes.
Such as?
We don't have a specific thematic sector, but we are funded by KFW, so there's a KFW exclusion list that if you fall on that list, we cannot fund you. For instance, children that are put to work, businesses that put children to work, we would not fund. Any projects that degrades the environment, we cannot fund. So anything on the KFW exclusion list or the ISC exclusion list will not fund. But besides that, we don't have specific sectors.
What's the biggest amount you've given in Ghana?
In Ghana, it's 6 million euros.
6 million euros?
Yes.
For what area of activity?
So it's to a company in the apparel sector.
Apparel?
Yes,
clothing.
apparel. Yes, clothing. That's DTRT, Dignity DTRT.
DTRT?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I know DTRT.
Yes. So they aside.
Is it in Tema?
Yes, in Tema.
Yes, I know it.
They have one in Tema and one in Accra.
One in Accra,
yes.
Okay.
So they specifically sold for companies like say Marks and Spencer, Carhartt. So before most of these big institutions will go to Asia.
Yes.
To get them to sew because they got the standard. Now they are looking to Africa because they see that we are upping our standards. Yes. So these companies are taking advantage of the fact that such companies are now looking to Africa because it's cheaper relatively to come to Africa for the labor than to go to Asia. So they are positioning themselves to be able to, but in order to meet their demands, you have to invest in your business, and that's what they did.
What's the smallest you've given?
The smallest we've given is it's a little over $1 million.
A little over $1 million?
Yes, we haven't given below $1 million.
Okay, I'm asking these questions because I think it's also important to understand the quantum range of what is involved, what you are giving, what you are doing, so people have an idea of what you are up against. It's not a situation of Charlie, can you give me some 10,000 to go and blow? We are not blowing. I know the iPhone 17 was released not too long ago. It's not an iPhone 17 kind of scenario. So that's what I'm asking. So
the minimum we can give, and we cannot go below that, is 650,000.
650,000.
Yes.
And it's in euros.
It's in euros, because you see, there's a fine balance that we are asking businesses to create. So we want businesses that are financially distressed to a point, in the sense that, as I said, we are not competing with other financial institutions. So if the support can come from financial institutions, then we'll say all the best, but go to the financial institutions, because that is what they are there for anyway. It is when you've contacted the financial institutions, you've exhausted all the wonderful resources that he talked about, and either you still cannot get it or there's still some gap, then we come in. So we are looking for, but we are also saying that at the end of the day, because you see, like he said again, you have to put your skin in the game, because then you take it seriously. So at the end of the day, what we are saying is that if you contribute, we don't want you to contribute and then it would leave your business financially weak. We don't want to destabilize your company. So your company has to be strong enough to be able to withstand putting out some money, but it also has to be distressed enough to need the IFE funds.
Before I leave you, because I'll stay with him for a while too, are you limited to the production of, as you say, services that benefit the community generally? You say you are not limited, but I'm saying goods. Production of goods. You've given an example of DTRT. You're talking about apparel, clothing. Those are goods. Those are tangibles. Do you ever venture into services?
To an extent.
I want to know the extent.
So
because we have a lot of finance people, accounting people are studying these things. They will graduate with that, so they know, Charlie, after my accounting, I need to find out how to make shoes to get it, how to make shirts, so we are clear. Or that in pursuing my service industry, that I can still be supported. We need to know, so people are clear the paths to take.
So it depends. So you see, there are general things that's requirements, but there are certain cases that are special cases that if we're able to justify the reason for it, it could be looked at. So I would not say categorically that this or no, because I know we've looked at a BPO before. These days we are looking at services, getting services for companies overseas. Those ones, so again, it's on a case-by-case situation. So if there are certain things put in place that would make them qualify, yes, we look at it. But it is not a general yes.
It's not a general yes or no. Exit. What's the range of support? First, what's the range of support? Just the quantum. We have it clear. 650 is the minimum. They've given up to 5 million. What about you? Do you do 10,000?
If I can call on top of my head,
yes.
Our largest exposure to a single individual is 240 million Ghana cedis. 240 million Ghana cedis. Yes. That is the one we have given to an individual. But so that's more than $20 million. Sorry? That's over $20 million. Yeah, $20 million that we have given. And we have the least There are some people who will give up to 100,000, depending on
100,000.
your-
Is it Ghana cedis?
Ghana cedis.
Ghana cedis 100,000.
Depending
Okay, so
on
that's
your-
about 10,000.
Yes.
8,000, 10,000, depending on the exchange rate. Okay. Yeah. So I'm asking that so people can weigh, you know, the ranges and what's available. And what are the areas? Again, are there places you won't go to? You know, we need to know. Like if Professor Chulek or his people come and say, oh, he has an accounting firm, he wants to do pro bono services as well. I know Professor Chulek's background. I mean, and he wants to help people and all of that. There are people who need these services. We talked about tax. There are people who are starting maybe for the first 3 years of their existence. They need help with bookkeeping, with whatever, in areas such as this and all of that. We are ready to do it for them. We're ready to help them at least to get on their feet, which is that we are not charging them a fee. But if you have a grant that enables me to put together 10 or 15 accountants, I can do that for them as we develop the businesses and say, we are not keeping them forever. We are holding their hands. We will wean them off that thing 3 years after we've been with them, 2 years after we've been with them, but they need that help. Is that something that you could consider? Is that something that will make sense to you to enable business to grow?
Yeah. What you've suggested is actually innovative. Currently, we don't have anything like that, but I do not think we cannot consider that. We have to situate everything within our mandate. Exim, we are simply an export bank. And we support export of products and export of services.
Okay.
So our funding, we normally give them in 3 areas. Direct export, import substitution, or value addition. So when I talk about direct export, it means anything that you are going to sell, either goods or service, across Ghana borders. So if you are a Ghanaian and you decide to build a hotel or a medical facility in Togo, Exim Bank will be willing to support you because to us it's an inflow, it's an export. Regarding import substitution, our policy generally is that we don't support import to sale business. So if you want to go and import goods from China, maybe you want to bring some chalewete, we will not support you. But what you are importing, if it's in the nature of machinery, we will support you because you are coming to build industry. Maybe you are also in some sector where you are having serious challenges with raw materials. Let's take the pineapple sector. Currently, Ghana, we are supposed to be producing pineapples. But I bet you, if you build factory today, and you want to get the required pineapples to feed the factory, you are going to be having challenges because most of our farmlands, just look around in Sawam, they are being taken by real estate developers. You can't really produce pineapple in that large quantities. So sometimes you might want to import concentrate into the country to enable you keep the factory running. Under that circumstances, we can support you because you are something you are going to add value of a sort to. But if you are just bringing used cars, clothing directly to Ghana to sell, we will not support you. And again, Exim Bank, when I gave the example of you moving to Togo to set up a business, one of our equity, what we also use it for, is to help Ghanaians to buy majority stake in companies abroad. If that company is importing a lot from Ghana, and there is evidence that that company normally imports from Ghana, and we don't want that thing to stop, we will give you equity to go to the destination country to buy majority stake in the company. So once you are a majority stakeholder, you can direct the policies of the country. Then that means that you will always insist that they buy from Ghana. We do that.
That's interesting. This microphone, I think, you should take mine.
So, you see, it always goes back to the mandates, like he said. So IFE's core objective is the creation of jobs. So anything, any project that is going to lead to the creation of jobs, if you can justify it, then it's something that, and if it meets the eligibility requirements, then it's something that we'll look at.
I see. So your point is, the business plan is key, and your research is also key. Make sure you know what you are doing and come and convince us. So it's not cast in concrete, but it shouldn't be a plan just to, as you say, get money to enjoy. It must have an impact. But I'm really fascinated by this export thing. Well, of course, exim means export import or something, right? Export import, yeah. So it's so that's export import. Okay, I get that. Let's shift a little away from specificity of IFE and exim, because we spent some time on that, and look at other areas that may be considered for this financing thing. Because look, financing is a big deal, whether we like it or not. Getting somebody to trust in what you are doing, give you money for it and all of that. On debt, we've heard about the grants, we've heard about your equity, but we also know that traditionally a lot of people go to the banks for loans. It's very difficult. The hurdles you cross, like even you who does grant says, I want to see a track record. You should have been there for a year. I'm not going to take you from the ground and all that. What do you make? Is there anything you can say to our young brothers and sisters here with regards to taking debt financing, loans in particular, particularly to start or to support things they already are doing but are not big and they probably want to scale? What's your view on this loan thing? Especially given you mentioned 25%. I know the central bank reduced the base rate, was it yesterday or today, by some numbers. But whichever way you look at it, you hear 21. The banks are adding risks and whatever and all of that, and you are still hovering around somewhere in the 20s. Would you advise loans?
My advice on loan. Actually, my experience in working in Ghanaian banks for substantially long period of time has taught me that I am just ashamed to say this. It seems that Ghanaian, our attitude to loans are very, very poor. Loan is something that can either grow you or it can also kill you. Let's take, for example, you are just out of school. And let's take it that the banker is generous enough to close his eyes to many challenges that surround you and will give you, say, 1 million Ghana cedis loan and give you 5 years to pay. So if you actually invest the money into the project assets and put a lot of discipline to work to pay the loan, the implication is pretty clear to you. In 5 years, you have saved 1 million for yourself because the project assets become your own asset. So that means that if you didn't get that loan, or even if they are paying you 20,000 Ghana cedis a month salary, which you are unlikely to get, 5 years is unlikely that you'll be able to save 1 million Ghana cedis. But the loan will help you to build an asset, at least 1 million Ghana cedis at the end of the 5 years. So if we look at it from that perspective, loan is very, very good. But the flip side is that because it carries the fixed obligation to pay in terms of interest rate, that means if you are not able to pay, the banker will come after you. The assets that you hope you would have been able to save at the end of the 5th year, you will lose everything. So and depending on the terms of the contract, your personal assets may also be put at risk. So these are the opportunities and the risks associated with loans. But where I feel ashamed as a Ghanaian is that, in fact, my entire life I have worked in credit risk, I've worked in treasury. One thing I've seen about Ghanaians, I don't know, where we don't like paying loans, because oftentimes people will say that it is the interest rate. That is why people don't pay. But you come to Exim Bank. In fact, in my portfolio, we have loans that are attracting interest 4% in Ghana cedis.
Per annum? 4% per annum.
Per annum. 4% per annum in Ghana cedis. And the project promoters, all what they brought is the concept paper. We funded it. They didn't bring their individual houses. The project assets became the collateral, yet they are not paying. So here, will you say that it is the interest rate? I do agree that interest rate can push genuine borrowers to default. But if we are giving you said concessionary funding and you are still not paying, that calls into question our own character. And the pattern is just clear across board. Well, is it because we are a government bank? Because sometimes when people take the funding, they just feel that, Abenska, so they can just spend it anyhow. But if you do that, you are killing the opportunity for the next person because you pay, the money pass to another person. Then together we are building a better Ghana. Somebody asked a question that they don't see the benefit of the tax. I'm happy to tell you that if you take funding from Exim Bank, you're actually benefiting directly from the tax, because we don't take deposit from the general public. It is the tax money the government allocates to us, and we also give it back to you. So that is one of the benefits that you can get by paying your taxes.
Ajwa, do you want to say something on this loan bit?
Yes. What I would say is that in Ghana, it's quite difficult, especially if you are serious about running a business, to operate without loans, because it's difficult assessing, at least in my limited experience, it's difficult assessing funding elsewhere without loans. For our projects, I'd say 90% of our projects are co-financed by loans from various banks. Yes, they cannot do it by themselves. So loans are helpful, but again, like he said, and that's something I've also noticed, it takes discipline. If you are going for a loan, identify potential risk and look for mitigation measures. You don't just go in for the loan for the sake of going in for the loan. Before you go for the loan, just like with any investment you do, you have to do some research and see what are the potential risks. If those risks occur, what am I going to do to avert such risk? And in the end, it's beneficial to you. So it's a matter of being self-disciplined and identifying your risks so that you can manage potential risks that come up.
I know there are other questions that I may still ask. Government role. I won't ask about government. Government is not here to tell me what it wants to do. So I had already promised you that I'll open the floor earlier than I did the first time around. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We have just about some 20 minutes or so to end this discussion. Do you have any questions down there so we can incorporate those questions into the discussion? So you don't remember me as a man who promised and did not deliver. I want to hear. There's a hand up there. Can somebody help us with the microphones, please? The gentleman in the blue cap, white top, please mention your name and then fire away.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Mackenzie. I'm the marketing manager of Battery Planet.
Marketing manager where?
Battery Planet.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this platform. I think I have a question. It's been pending since, not today. Abroad, you have issues with loans. Especially, you asked the question about loan to Alaji. Normally, I know that to take away all this risk of the fear for loan, normally they say go and insure the loan in some foreign countries. So when there is an insurance for the loan, most of the companies don't fear going for loans. But in this our part of the country, I don't see the government or anybody doing something about insuring a loan, or any of the companies talking about come and insure a loan or something. So that is what I think has been the number one impediment, pushing entrepreneurs from taking a loan. Because if I know that I can go and insure the loan, and if there's anything, the insurance company will pay for the loan, I'm not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, you got that question. He's talking about essentially, sorry about that, I have to repeat because the sound in this part, I think it's facing you. Yeah, he's just saying that, outside, and sometimes there are situations where you take a loan and there are insurance companies covering it. I remember having this discussion with somebody not too long ago. It happens for students, etc., in the West, where there's a loan scheme to help you through your 3-year program, etc., 4-year program. There are some companies that underwrite it because they know that as a young person, you finish, you'll get some work to do, you'll be earning X amount of money for the first how many years of your life, you may be able to clear it and all of that. So he's saying that in those places, entrepreneurs are not too scared to go for loan and seek debt financing because they know that worst case scenario, there's some insurance company covering you. Maybe you are making some premium payments, etc., which is not killing you, and also has a future tie in to your earnings that are yet to come, something. And that he doesn't see that here, where there are insurance companies willing to support entrepreneurs. And what do you make of that? You think it's something, that direction that will help?
Okay. Your question does not sit directly with Exim Bank, but I can hazard a guess in that respect. The National Insurance Commission, that as a policy, does not allow banks to give credit insurance. In the past, they've started it. In fact, when I was in the commercial banking space, and later on, the insurance sector was exposed to a lot of bad loans, and that forced the regulator to come in and stop giving credit insurance. In fact, I did it for a number of clients before they put a stop to it. Apart from insuring default, because with credit insurance, you are actually insuring default. And there is a moral hazard issue there because it increases your incentive since you know that somebody is going to carry the liability anyway. So your seriousness may be undermined. That might be one of the policy reasons. I don't know, but I know that based on the history of large default, NEC stopped credit insurance. But apart from credit insurance, there are other insurance facilities that go with loan. For example, we have SMEs. And SME, you are a one-man business. So all the liability is on you. So if today you are seriously sick, you cannot work, and the lender will be there to chase you to pay. In the circumstances, it will be inequitable to be pressing the lender to pay. Meanwhile, the lender also not to recover, but he also has his shareholders to appease. NEC allows insurance company to provide key man insurance. They can also give insurance in area of permanent and total disability. That is areas that if you are not able to work due to some disability, they can cover that one. If you are so central to the company, say that your business, if you are not there, the business will collapse. They can insure that. But where NEC refuses that the insurance should go is default. They cannot insure your default.
Right. I believe that is clear. Okay. I believe that point is clear. And the reference to the moral hazard problem is a real thing in insurance. And again, for our younger people here, there's a moral hazard problem which says, if I carry all your burden, you are likely not to be careful. That's what it is. Example in insurance is, if I insure your house and say simplicity, that whenever it rains heavily and destroys everything in your home and your carpets, I will pay for it. you are not likely to close your windows when you are leaving home, because you know that once it rains, it's my job. So to check that moral hazard problem, there are certain areas which insurance doesn't like to go to. I did a case for a client where they had an accident. They had taken a comprehensive insurance, and the insurance company said, we'll pay, was it 90% or 80%? So they brought it to me. And I said, oh, did you read the policy? Oh, not really. So we read the policy and realized that it was comprehensive. But to get 100%, you have to pay an additional premium. That is the moral hazard problem. They're trying to fix the moral hazard problem, where you can drive anyhow if you have no obligation. But if you want to do that and get 100% coverage, I'll collect a little bit more from you. And I think I get his point. The government is saying, listen, the moral hazard problem with regard to default, I don't want to go there. Because you will default anyway, not caring, because somebody will carry it. But I think these are things we should consider. Future leaders are here amongst us. Today I raised my issue with VAT. I'm told it will be changed. So let's raise these issues. That's the purpose of these discussions and all that. Do we have another question? Yes, sir. Please help us with that. But the ladies, the female participation, Ajwa is the only one rescuing you today. We need more ladies in the fray. Yes, please. Your name?
I'm Anthony Asare Ado from Tony Barnes Ventures. This question go to the Exim Bank. Can a small-scale construction firm be eligible to apply for your fund?
Small-scale construction.
Small-scale construction firm.
Thank you.
The answer is yes and no, in the sense that if you get construction contract to do outside the borders of Ghana, we can fund that without any problem whatsoever. But within Ghana, it depends on the nature of support you are requiring from us. If maybe you are going for bid bonds, that we can do. But beyond the bid bond, we can't do anything.
That's your answer right there. Any further questions from the floor? There's a follow-up right there. I see that all of you have all the money you need for your businesses. You don't have questions for IFE and Exim Bank. Okay, all right. I'll be coming to you for my own money.
Okay, for gender balance, this one goes to the lady.
Sorry?
For gender balance, this one goes to the lady.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask, in terms of like service, exporting service, it's also good to allege anyway. In case I should have a firm where I'm working with Hollywood and nurturing talent, creative talent, people who can act African movies, grow them here and let them join Hollywood movies so that Ghanaians will be seen, or Africans will be seen on big screens abroad. Now, this kind of school or whatever I'm trying to set up to working with Hollywood, can I get funding?
So creative arts.
Yeah, creative arts.
Okay, so kind of like training people to become creative artists.
Yeah, to work with Hollywood. And that is, I have a contract with Hollywood. So Hollywood
You
is
have a contract with who?
Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are telling me if I can get, they want to get into that African typical movies, right? With good shots and cameras and everything. Like, what you call it, those days, you have that man, what's the name? Mm-hmm. Yeah, some good movie, Timber, something. Yeah. So I wanted to see if they could say, okay, if you could get these good actors here to join us over there, we could have Ghanaians showing on big screens. And we could even come down here to shoot very good movies with those people to join in collaboration with foreign actors. You understand?
So the problem with that is that in terms of employment, they'll be employed by Hollywood. And yet we are talking about employment in Ghana.
But I'm nurturing the talent here.
Yes, but the fact is you are not hiring them. It is an outside company that is hiring them. If you were training them here,
Yeah.
and then perhaps you hire a small percentage of them, and the majority of them are hired by perhaps film industries in Ghana, that's a different case. Because we are talking about job creation within Ghana.
Yeah, so this is an industry we are building within Ghana, that foreigners will come to shoot African and foreign movie collaboration with them. So there will be shots here and shots abroad.
I perfectly understand, but who will be hiring them?
No, they are here. They'll always be here. If you need them for movies, you come down and shoot with them. If they have to fly, you go.
Aha. But you see, again, we are talking about permanent jobs, formal jobs.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
That meets certain minimum requirements. So in terms of formal jobs, they have to be employed by a company, a Ghanaian company, where their social security is paid, their national health insurance is seen to, where they get certain social benefits that are required by law. If these requirements are met, then there's a possibility for that.
So,
but if it is informal, in the sense that as and when maybe there's a movie, then they'll be employed. Remember also that they have to meet a minimum requirement of 520 hours a year.
Okay. So as specifically, I'm talking about Ghana Actors Guild.
Sorry?
Specifically, I'm talking about Ghana Actors Guild.
Uh-huh.
So they are under the umbrella of Ghana Actors Guild. So the guild is trying to do something like this. It's trying to get Ghanaian actors to be able to work with Hollywood foreigners. You understand? So they are professionals. They are here. They are in the system. They are under an umbrella. Very professional. So it's something that is organized. You understand? This is not for Kobo. These are very organized actors that you know on your daily screen. You see them. But now it's like you are not going to see them on Hollywood screens in collaboration with very big movies. You understand?
I totally understand. But ask yourself, does it meet the requirements of the kind of jobs that we are looking at?
You said exporting service. Exporting service.
No, I mentioned creating jobs. So if exporting services would involve a creation of jobs that would meet the requirements, the minimum requirements for a good and permanent job, then it can be considered.
Acting is a permanent job.
All right, so I think that it's now becoming a debate. There are processes, right? They can put together a document, they can bring it to you, you look at it, make a determination. So at least we don't hear no. We hear conditions, we hear the number of hours, we hear the formalism of the work and things like that. You can put it together and then get in touch with her, and I'm sure you can take it up from there. Who has the next question? Financing of your business, of your dreams, of your ideas. We have one coming from there. Please give him the microphone. If the lady speaks, I will walk to a lady myself and put the microphone in your hands.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine was more of a wild thought while I heard the conversation going on. Over here at Heritage, we have certain certificate courses in sports management. And it's a big area, it's a growing area. So if I have an academy where I train young boys to play football, can I approach your foundation to support that training?
So it's football academy.
Yes. So it's a yes and no. You see, the reason why I'm saying it's a yes and no. Yes, there's an academy. When it comes to training of any sort, it is only acceptable if you can ensure that you are placing them in an institution where they are employed. Because you see, we are talking about employment, creating employment. We are not talking about, it's good to train them because they need the skills. But what happens when they get the skills? Do you leave them on their own so that they become unemployed? Because that's what we are trying to avoid. So if you train them and you can guarantee that at least 90% of them are placed in institutions where they are employed, be it football, whatever, but they are placed in institutions year on year. So if it's something that's going to be maybe every 6 months, every year, you train a number of people, can you guarantee that for every year that you train them, the graduates that come up or the people who are trained will be placed in institutions where they can start working? Then we can talk.
So, would I be correct in saying that with IFE, it's largely, I asked this already in a certain way, but as the questions come from the floor, it looks like the creative arts, the football academy and things are not a direct yes area for you.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
It's more business properly so-called, where people are in employment and you realize they are placed, their lives are being changed, they are earning some money, their lives are better, their communities, their families and communities are affected, and we are transforming livelihoods. It looks like that's kind of a setup.
It's more clear cut.
It's more clear cut.
In terms of what they are to creative art and all that, which mostly has to do with training.
Yes.
When it comes to training, there's still, I mean, in the other areas, there's still some form of training. But when it comes to training, what we are looking at is not just the training, but training them and placing them, ensuring employment for them.
And ensuring employment for them.
Exactly.
Training, placement, continuing employment.
Exactly.
That's
so
the key.
If you can show that these ones, those whichever field, if they are going to be trained, and we have, say, agreements with ABCD institutions where they have ensured us that every set of trainees that come out, we are going to take up a number of them every year and place them. Okay. Then you have a case, and it cuts across all sectors.
I see. Interesting. Any more questions? Don't just listen. There's a lady. Okay. The same lady, Rosie. Is it Rosie? Okay, Rosie. Let's hear you. I'm trying to make this segment participatory. Jack.
Okay, Mrs. Ajoa, it seems like IFA is primarily supports established companies already. Like it's more concerned with the established companies already. But as young people that we are still in school, we have innovative businesses that we want to start during or after our education. If we come to IFA, present our business plan to you clearly, will you consider supporting our business?
Okay, so for now, unfortunately, IFE does not support startups. But the good thing is there are other institutions that support startups. And the good thing is, hopefully, IFE is going to be around for a very long time. So once you've gotten the support from other institutions to get you to start the business and you have been established, then you come to IFE for help. So it's kind of like progressive help. You start with institutions that provide, like he said, Exim Bank looks a little bit at startups. So you start with institutions that provide that, and then it's progressive. So from there, once you're established, then you can come to IFE. So you see, the thing is that with any kind of financing system, there are certain requirements or there's a framework within which they work, and they can't go beyond that. And it's the same for IFE. So we have a certain framework within which we can work, and unfortunately we can't go beyond that.
Interested. I saw a hand up there somewhere. Okay. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Gertrude from Prime Solutions. So I just want to...
You need to speak up, please.
Okay. I'm Gertrude from Prime Solutions. I just want to add to what she's saying. I think she has made it clear that they are not into startups. But I know that there are other institutions. She mentioned at the beginning of her presentation, other institutions operating in Ghana that might not just focus on startups. I know there are some that are solely into girl training, institutions, training girls in IT, training girls in electricals, just building their capacity, that they are not interested in the other part of getting them gainfully employed. So all those other ideas that you have, maybe you may have to do a little bit more of research. There are other organizations that are equally supporting startups and NGOs. So that's just by way of...
Thank you very much.
saying.
Please, you have another
I
comment.
have a question for our Asian man. So, for instance, a construction company, we want to go into some other part of construction, and we will need to import some machinery and equipment. Can we get some loan assistance in that regard? That's my question.
So importation of equipment for construction, a construction company from Exim Bank. Please say yes.
The finished product. What are you constructing? The finished product, if it's a road, we are not carrying the road outside Ghana. It will remain in Ghana. So because of that, we cannot fund it.
So you cannot?
No, we cannot.
Okay.
So the only time we can help, if you can demonstrate some export being linked to your construction, then we will easily do it.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Benis Salu. I'm a student of Heritage. I wanted to find out, you did talk about NGOs. So I want to find out that you said you support NGOs as well. So we have a foundation that supports rural education. We supply exercise books and learning materials for rural areas who don't have, who can afford them every academic year. So every year we choose a rural area and then we go and support. So I want to find out, we solidate our funds from individuals. We don't have many, so we talk to people to support us. So I want to find out that if we come to you, can you support us with that as well?
And that question goes to who?
The IFE.
IFE.
Okay.
I think she's already understood Exim will say no for this one. So she wants to try IFE.
Well, let me ask you this. So, in supporting the rural areas with the books, is there any component of job creation? Is there any component of job creation? Will there be new jobs to be created?
No, please.
So, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. I'll take a final question if there's one. If there isn't, our time is actually up. But I'll just, if there isn't, okay. Well, yeah, I'll take final words from my panelists.
I want to.
Oh, you want to respond to that one?
Not her per se, but I just want to emphasize that currently our strategy for this year and into next year, our general strategy, we want to encourage food production. And food production, we are targeting largely rice and poultry. So any application you have in respect of rice and poultry, we are also supporting apparel. Adjoa had mentioned about some, in fact, it is a co-financing. We have our footprint in it. So if you have any application that has to do with apparel, poultry, rice, you can bring the application. We will have a look at it.
Interesting point made over there. I will still take final words from you as we bring this to a close. Words to our brothers and sisters. Let's begin with you, Adjoa. As you advise, final words, advice to them.
So what I can say is that with IFE, unfortunately, we can't look at all projects. And I know most of you are especially interested in the startups, businesses that are now starting. But like the lady suggested, do a bit of research, because there are a lot of funding institutions where they look at different areas. So just take a bit of time, talk to people who are in the field, because there are consultants who specifically look for funding sources. So just take a bit of time, speak to them, and then find out which one best works for you, because it is better to look at your situation and then see which one works best for you, not look at the funding institution and how you can benefit from them. Turn it rather around to see which one best suits your need. If you feel that IFE suits your need, then good. You can always approach us. I mean, it doesn't matter whether there's a call open or not. I always say it's better to prepare before a call opens. That way, once the call is open, then you are prepared to put in your application. You have all your documentation intact, and it's a relatively easy process for you. So I would encourage you once again to go on the Invest for Job website and then just take a look at IFE. Take some time, read the guidelines, see what IFE is all about, and see if it satisfies your needs, as in your business needs.
Abdul, final words.
My final words to our prospective SMEs can be reduced into 4 lines. The first is that you should formalize your businesses, and the Commissioner General, he emphasized that point when he delivered his speech. Then number 2, you also have to ensure compliance. Going into the export market is very, very difficult because there are a lot of rules, there are a lot of certifications that you have to have before you can get entry into that market. So formalize, comply, then you leverage the funding windows that Exim Bank has. We have not been restricted to one pool of funds. There are different funds that you can get from Exim Bank. Then once you comply, you formalize, and you got our funding, then you should globalize. You should think global. And even though you have your local roots, your bigger picture should always be about the whole world, because the market is very, very big, and Ghana alone is not enough. You can.
Point well made. Can you please put your hands together for them? We are very grateful to Abdul Baki Yusif. It's Yusuf. I was wondering how it was. I never heard twice, but I think it's written twice here. But it's Yusuf. Abdul Baki Yusuf Kadri from the Exim Bank, sir. Thank you very much for your time with us. And we also say special thanks to Mrs. Ajwa Labi, IFE Country Manager, for those insights. I really enjoyed this, and thank you for bringing all of that to us. Before I invite Professor Atulek to come and say a few words, I think that it's very important and will be actually useful and instructive for me at this stage, since this is the very first one. Of course, I know it's not over. Today is my day. Tomorrow, someone else takes over. But of course, as you know, it's a Boateng Business Conference 2025. It's the first of its kind. We've been talking about who is here. Even for me, the common floor member here, you came reading my profile. How much more the man about whom and for whom we are doing this? We deserve to hear his profile as part of this as well. So that is what I'm going to do right now. Mr. Douglas Boateng is a renowned entrepreneur and philanthropist, leading Continental Christian Traders Limited and supporting Christian missions across Africa. He is also Chancellor of Knaxford University and a strong advocate for faith-driven leadership. Mr. Douglas Ekwuamwa Boateng is a visionary entrepreneur, philanthropist, and Christian leader whose impact spans across businesses, ministry, and community development in Africa. He is a group chairman of Continental Christian Traders Limited, a dynamic group comprising Gladstone Estates Limited and CCT Limited. Under his strategic leadership, these companies have grown into multinational enterprises with operations in Ghana, Togo, the Gambia, Senegal, Equatorial Guinea, Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau, and Liberia. Beyond business, Mr. Boateng is deeply committed to evangelism. Wherever his companies operate, he plants churches and sponsors local missionaries, extending both commerce and the gospel across the continent. Renowned for his philanthropy, Mr. Boateng has made significant contributions to individuals, institutions, and communities. Notably, he fully funded the land acquisition for Heritage Christian University, and Heritage Bible Institute, affirming his belief in faith-driven education and development. I'm sure some of you are hearing this for the very first time. You owe him prayer. When you pray tonight or at whatever time, you pray for him before you pray for yourself. His leadership roles include National Executive Council member, Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, past chairman, Greater Accra Regional Chamber, former member, Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Board of Trustee member, Church of Christ, Ghana, chairman, Continental Missions Network, CMN, elder, Church of Christ, McCarthy Hill, and chancellor, Knatsford University, East Legon. A strong advocate for Christian ethics in leadership, Mr. Boateng continues to inspire transformation through a life dedicated to excellence, service, and faith. Ladies and gentlemen, I say, let's stand up and give him a standing ovation. Clap for this man and pray that the Lord God himself blesses him exceedingly. Sir, may God bless you. We salute you. You're a great man. Thank you very much. You may all take your seats now. I now invite my classmate and teacher. He's my classmate, but he used to teach us legal accountancy because I don't know how we're going to pass that. So we'll beg him and then you come and teach us. By God's grace, we also passed. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much. Even though I was teaching, he was getting all the A's. All right, thank you so much. I want to appreciate Mrs. Ajua Labi and Abdul Kadir. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and with your insightful comments. I want to make a proposal so that we can get it done very quickly. We have our two other speakers here. We're supposed to take lunch and then we come back. But instead of doing that, I want to find out from you if it's okay. We can skip the panel discussion after this one, so we just have them address us for 20 minutes each, and then we ask questions whilst they are there, and then we go for lunch, and then we go. Otherwise, we break now, go for lunch, and come back. What's your preference? We should finish and go for lunch. We should go for lunch and come. Let me see by hand. Those of us who want us to go for lunch and come. Let me see those of us who want to finish before we go for lunch. It looks like the majority want us to finish before we go for lunch. And so I would want to welcome on stage Mr. Alexander Dajua, who is the executive, who is going to speak. Okay, he has an executive master's degree in development policies and practices from the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies, Geneva, a Bachelor of Arts in Social Sciences from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and a postgraduate diploma in translation from the School of Translators, Accra. He is currently the Director of Projects at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Mr. Dajua worked briefly at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration as a translator-interpreter before joining the Ghana Export Promotion Authority in the late 90s. He has been working at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority for the past 27 years, rising from within the ranks to the level of a director. He has a wealth of experience as an international trade expert, having served in various departments, including the Office of the Executive Secretary, as Special Assistant, Research Department, and General Promotions Department, and heading the Marketing and Promotion Department for several years. Mr. Dajua has participated in several short courses in his field of specialization and has traveled extensively on official missions in Africa, Europe, Asia, and the United States. He is also an experienced trainer and mentor in trade-related fields where his expertise is well sought after. Married with children, please help me to welcome on stage Mr. Alexander K. Dajua. And he will speak for 20 minutes, and then the next speaker will also speak for 20 minutes, and we take brief questions, and then we will leave. You are most welcome. God bless you.
Good afternoon to all of us. The podium seems to be taller than me, so I'm challenged, but I'll see what we can do. And I promise to be quite brief because I know time is fast spent and your stomachs are crying for milk. So I want to make it as brief as possible. But again, my thanks to the MC for the introduction. And let me also state that originally my chief executive, Mr. Francis Kojo Kwaten Arthur, was supposed to be here to address you. Unfortunately, an assignment that is equally important has taken him currently out of town, so he has asked me to represent him. So my speech or presentation is being made in his behalf, so you bear with him. Honorable Chairperson, our distinguished Dr. Douglas Boateng, other distinguished speakers, esteemed business leaders and entrepreneurs, whom I see a lot of them in this hall today, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. So I deem it an honor and a blessing to be invited to speak at this important business conference, an event that celebrates the visionary entrepreneurship and responsible business practices in honor of Dr. Douglas Ekuamua Boateng. I have read the profile of Dr. Ekuamua Boateng, which has been reiterated just a while ago to all of us, and I must say that it is very rich and inspiring. I was particularly happy to note that this illustrious son of the land has distinguished himself in the establishment of cross-border businesses in Africa and beyond. And we have all heard the many countries that he has established businesses in, particularly in Africa. So let's give him another round of applause for that. As my profile was being read, you would hear that I also traveled a bit in Africa. And I've traveled extensively also in West Africa. I know almost all the countries in West Africa except Niger, which I haven't been to. So I've been to Equatorial Guinea, Senegal, and all those countries. And I must say CCT is a household word in those countries. And truly, that has been the fisherman's friend in all these countries, most of them coastal countries. And his CV is very impressive. And I don't want to repeat because I've also listed some of the achievements he has made, including being the chairman of the CCT group of companies, being the chancellor of Knoxford University, board of trustees of Church of Christ, and so forth and so on. So, sir, we doff our hearts to you. It is therefore only appropriate and proper that the promoters of this business conference have done it in his honor. Let's clap again for the organizers of the event. May I therefore take the opportunity to congratulate you, the organizers, on this initiative, which I believe will inspire the youth to emulate the shining examples of our honoree. Mr. Chairman, the theme for this year's conference, which is the future of business, creating businesses with conviction, innovation, and responsible practices, resonates well with the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, whose mandate it is to develop and promote Ghanaian exports that transform Ghana's private sector, particularly export-oriented businesses, into vibrant and globally competitive force to increase revenues from non-traditional exports. Indeed, for any business to thrive in this very, very competitive environment that we are operating in, three key, carefully chosen words are appropriate. And these are conviction, innovation, and responsible practices. And these are very vital, determining factors for every successful business. Without conviction, no business can be sustained to grow. Without innovation, businesses suffer, and eventually they either die or remain irrelevant. And above all, without applying responsible and environmentally sound practices, businesses cannot make it to the globally competitive environment. And this is very true, particularly these days. It is therefore imperative that any business that wants to survive in today's environment must, and it is in caps, must consider these three core principles. Ladies and gentlemen, I now turn attention to my topic, which is boosting SME competitiveness, Ghana Export Promotion Authority's strategic role in driving non-traditional export growth. It is trite knowledge that SMEs are the heartbeat of Ghana's economy. They make up over 70%, and I heard my colleague talk about over 80% of Ghana's GDP and over 90% of all businesses that work in Ghana. It is therefore stands to reason that they are the backbone of Ghana's economy, driving growth, generating employment for a large part of the workforce. Unfortunately, SMEs' ability to compete, especially in international markets, is challenged by factors such as, number one, which we have just seen, limited access to finance to boost production and marketing. They also often do not have adequate market information to make their businesses thrive. There are several gaps in quality standards and certification that are necessary for competition on the international market. And then, more importantly also, they do not have the sufficient capacity in terms of production to meet global demand. All these factors affect their competitiveness, especially in their attempt to break into international markets, where the requirements are much higher and where competitors are always finding ways to outcompete. It is against this backdrop that GEPA has intensified. When I say GEPA, I mean Ghana Export Promotion Authority has intensified its strategic role in boosting SMEs' competitiveness within its broad mandate of developing and promoting Ghanaian exports. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to highlight three key areas where GEPA is making some impact. First of all, GEPA is boosting SME capacity and their export readiness through our export school and other capacity building programs. And through these programs, we equip SMEs with technical skills in export readiness, in critical areas including export procedures, quality standards, packaging, costing, pricing, digital, marketing, branding, and so forth and so on. Several courses are run through our school. We believe that knowledge is the first and most critical step towards competitiveness, and human capital development is also a sine qua non for export success. The second area that we are capacitating SMEs is in the area of market development and market access. GEPA actively supports SMEs in accessing new markets and sustaining existing ones by facilitating their participation in several international trade fairs and exhibitions, business-to-business linkages, international and local seminars, webinars, and so forth and so on. These interventions ensure that our SMEs are not only competing locally, but also expanding into regional and global value chains. Thirdly, we support sector-specific product development and innovation efforts. We invest in product development, research, and also innovation through initiatives such as the One District, One Exportable Product program, which we have been executing for a number of years now. We identify and promote unique exportable products across Ghana's districts. This enables SMEs to diversify, add value, and meet the evolving demands of international consumers. We have also provided planting material support in some of our agricultural product sectors, including pineapple, coconuts, vegetables, and in the immediate past, we've also supported the cashew industry as well. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, we have not left out the youth and women-led businesses in our areas of support. To support the youth to be entrepreneurial in their outlook, we have been implementing the Youth in Export program, which is a 6-month on-the-job mentoring of selected youth to go into production of exportable products such as pineapples, vegetables, cosmetics, handicrafts, and many other products for exports. We have also trained women entrepreneurs under our She Trades program. And this is a program that we are currently executing in partnership with the International Trade Center based in Geneva. And the International Trade Center is one of the United Nations agencies responsible for SMEs capacity building in several developing countries, including Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look towards the future of business, one thing is very clear. SMEs that will thrive are those that are built on conviction, those that are built on innovation, and also those that uphold responsible practices. These three critical pillars must reflect in all the discussions at this seminal conference, so that at the end of the event, our business leaders, both young and old, most of them young people that I've seen in this hall, would integrate them into their strategic plans for implementation well before they go to the financiers for their funding needs. GEPA stands ready to walk this journey with our Ghanaian SMEs, including startups, ensuring that they are not only competitive at home, but also very visible, valued, and also respected in the global marketplace. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, let me reaffirm our unwavering commitment to driving the non-traditional export sector's growth as a pathway to Ghana's economic transformation. By equipping SMEs with the tools, knowledge, and platforms that they need, we can unlock their full potential and position them as true global champions. I want to use this opportunity once again on behalf of my CEO to thank the organizers of the Boateng Business Conference once again for extending this invitation to me, in this case, to my Chief Executive Officer, for which we are very grateful. I wish all of us very well. I understand the program started yesterday. We are almost done with today's activities, and tomorrow we will continue. We wish you all very well in your deliberations. And for those of you who are students of Christian Heritage University, please take every opportunity that comes along with this business conference to build your capacity. Take copious notes of everything that is being said here today, including all the points that you have heard today, and let them reflect in all your deliberations, your thoughts, and your ideas going forward, so that we can build that critical mass of youthful and potential business people that are ready to add value to our products for export. Because that is the only way that we can grow the economy. When exports grow, the values come to Ghana and our revenues increase in terms of foreign exchange. That is what we are going to use to build our economy. I thank you all for your attention, and God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give it up to him. Give it up to him. Thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah. All right. So sit and thank you very, very much, Mr. Alexander K. Dajawa. I hope I have not mutilated your name too much. If you sit in front, we'll be happy. So the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has opened our eyes to export opportunities. And that means that we are being open to the entire continent, the continent of Africa and beyond. But we want to narrow into the African continent, where now we have the African Continental Free Trade Area. We want to learn a little bit about that and what opportunities exist, in that space. And to help us to do that is the acting national coordinator of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Ghana. And he is in the person of Benjamin Kweku Essiem, who is the acting national coordinator of the African Continental Free Trade Area for Ghana, where he provides strategic leadership to the National AFTA Coordination Office. A seasoned trade policy expert, he brings over 2 decades of professional experience in the fields of trade and industry, with a distinguished record in shaping Ghana's trade agenda at the multilateral, regional, and bilateral levels. Throughout his 20-plus years of service, Mr. Essiem has actively contributed to strengthening Ghana's participation in the international trade agreement and building institutional capacities to support sustainable trade and investment. His expertise spans the full spectrum of trade policy, from advancing market access and investment promotion to driving initiatives that facilitate private sector competitiveness under the AFTA. In his current role as acting national coordinator, Mr. Benjamin Kweku Essiem is focused on building strong stakeholder collaboration, enhancing Ghana's readiness for continental trade, and positioning the country as a hub of innovation, industry, and regional integration. His leadership reflects a blend of technical competence, diplomatic skills, and visionary commitment to Africa's shared prosperity through trade. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome on stage Mr. Benjamin Kweku Essiem. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Samuel Chumesi Ankra, President of Heritage Christian University, Professor William Atuilik, Vice President of Heritage Christian University, Mr. Douglas Boateng, entrepreneur, philanthropist, esteemed business leaders and entrepreneurs, industry experts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a great honor and a privilege to be invited to participate in Boateng Business Conference 2025. The theme, Trading Beyond Borders, Practical Steps for Small and Medium-Scale Enterprises to Benefit from AFTA Framework, is both timely and appropriate, considering the fact that Ghana has been at the forefront of this agreement dating back into the days of our first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, SMEs are the backbone of Ghana's economy. They contribute over 90% of business enterprises, provide nearly 80% of total employment, and contribute about 60% to our national gross domestic product. Their importance is undeniable, yet their potential has often been held back by challenges such as limited export readiness, lack of access to information, high production cost, and inadequate infrastructure. This is precisely why the African Continental Free Trade Area is transformative and a game changer. It is more than just a trade agreement. It is a holistic turning point for Africa's economic journey. As the flagship project of the African Union's Agenda 2063, the African Continental Free Trade Area is designed as a blueprint for inclusive and sustainable development over the next 50 years. It seeks to dismantle barriers, boost intra-African trade, and integrate our economies into the global marketplace on competitive terms. In every sense, it is an engine for Africa's transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Continental Free Trade Area is today the largest free trade area in the world by membership, with 54 of the 55 African Union member states participating. It represents a market of 1.3 billion people and a combined GDP of approximately $3.4 trillion. Trading under the agreement began on 1st January 2021, following its signing in Kigali, Rwanda, and the establishment of the AFTA Secretariat in Ghana. Since then, a comprehensive set of protocols have been adopted covering trade in goods, trade in services, investment, intellectual property rights, competition policy, digital trade, and women and youth in trade. Together, these protocols form the pillars of Africa's new trading architecture, and it opens unprecedented opportunities for SMEs. Ladies and gentlemen, in Ghana, small and medium-scale enterprises can now benefit directly from the AFTA framework by gaining access to a wider African market under favorable tariff regimes, expanding their production capacity and diversifying their products to meet continental demands, and partnering with producers across Africa to integrate into the regional value chains. Yet opportunities alone are not enough. To seize these benefits, Ghanaian SMEs must be proactive, innovative, and committed to excellence. They must strengthen their branding, packaging, and marketing skills. They must also have high quality standards and invest in skilled staff and modern technologies. Above all, our MSMEs must cultivate deep knowledge of the African market by understanding consumer preferences, regulatory systems, and trade dynamics across diverse countries. In addition to these efforts, SMEs must also follow practical steps to benefit from the AFTA framework. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the following are some of the practical steps SMEs must take to succeed under AFTA. Firstly, SMEs desirous to export must obtain the AFTA certificate of origin, which is a central requirement for preferential trade agreements. In Ghana, the certificate is issued by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority with applications submitted online. We also have other institutions like Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as Ghana Export Promotion Authority, who help in this area. Ladies and gentlemen, exporters must ensure that their goods comply with AFTA rules of origin and are included in the liberalized tariff schedule of the destination country. Thirdly, SMEs must comply with all existing export procedures, including acquiring the necessary license, permits, and certificates, completing pre-shipment formalities, and preparing a bill of entry for customs inspections. SMEs must also strengthen compliance with continental and international quality standards to ensure their goods compete effectively across African markets. Finally, SMEs should actively seek partnerships with government agencies, register with business associations and financial institutions in order to access AFTA-related financing, trade facilitation initiatives, and capacity building programs. In advancing this agenda, the National AFTA Coordination Office, established in March 2020 with its core mandate of developing and coordinating Ghana's AFTA implementation efforts and strategies, continues to play a pivotal role in supporting SMEs with the information and guidance they need to succeed in the African terrain. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, while the African Continental Free Trade Area provides a framework for continental opportunities, it is through these practical steps that our SMEs will trade beyond borders, unlock new markets, and transform Africa's integration agenda into meaningful growth and shared prosperity. Africa's future prosperity will not be built by large corporations alone, but by millions of SMEs that are enterprising, innovative, and resilient, producing and exporting goods that reflect the ingenuity of our continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, SMEs must begin to see themselves not just as local traders, but as continental actors shaping Africa's shared destiny. SMEs must dream bigger, work smarter, and trade stronger, for the future of Africa's prosperity rests in the hands of our SMEs. Thank you very much for your kind attention. May God bless us all.
Please give it up to him as we invite him to join him here and take your questions. So I will straight away just open the floor to you if you have any questions. So they spoke to us on export promotion and the African Continental Free Trade Area. How do you benefit from it as people who are doing business? If you have any questions, you direct it, and then they will take your questions. Dr. Patricia Moore, please help her with the microphone so that our distinguished speakers will respond and give us guidance. So, Dr. Patricia Moore.
Thank you so much for your presentations. My question will go to Gepa. Okay. If I want to have access to your capacity building opportunities, what will be the process be? If I want to have access to your capacity building opportunities, what are the processes?
If you want to have access to
their capacity building opportunities.
Okay, so the capacity building opportunities, we will take that from both AFTA and JIPA. So let's hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. As I said, we run an export school. It's not a brick and mortar school, but we organize it regularly for those who want to build their capacity in the area of export. It's a 5-day intensive program, and we often advertise the programs when they are due. And now you can apply directly through a letter or an email to the address the CEO of Ghana Export Promotion Authority, and it to be considered through our training department. And then when we look at it and you qualify to participate, then of course you enroll. Now the minimum qualification is that you should have had a company, registered a business. It could be a startup or a medium-sized company or whatever it is. Once it is registered and you have a particular product you are dealing with, we'll take you on board. I think currently the fee is 1,500 cedis. It's all inclusive for the tuition, for the food, the training courses, materials, and then we also issue a certificate of participation that identifies that you have undergone this training. For every export-oriented company, we recommend strongly that you take the course, because international trade is quite a complex endeavor, as Doc will tell you. So it's important that you go through this course. So these are the steps to take.
So just a quick follow-up on that. Heritage Christian University has the Center for Entrepreneurship, Philanthropy and Ethics. And we incubate startups. So we have a number of businesses that have started under the oversight of, should we want to organize the training for all the startups and not wanting them to apply as individuals? Is that opportunity open?
Yes, it's open. We also take... Yeah.
And do we have the opportunity to have discounts? Most of them are still studying, they are students, and may not be able to afford the 1,005. What opportunities avail if we come as a group with student startups to register for this capacity building opportunity?
Right. You know, the course fee is already heavily subsidized anyway, because 1,500 cedis these days is nothing. So it's to barely break even. So we don't really intend to make profit out of it. So it's already subsidized heavily. But if it's a group, yes, we call it specialized programs. We can enter into a certain agreement with you to train them. It could be in situ here, or we can do it at our training facility for the group. And once it's a group of maybe 20, 25, thereabout, we can consider those options.
So Dr. Asma, start thinking about how we can do about that. Let's listen to the AFTA, any capacity building opportunities for people to understand what you do better. You can use this one whilst we work on that.
Yeah, so thank you very much. The National AFTA Coordination Office, as the name implies, is a coordination unit. So we coordinate institutions in the trade ecosystem. and we work closely with institutions like Ghana Export Promotion Authority. We work with customs. We work with Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and many of such institutions in the trade ecosystem. With regards to capacity building, from time to time we undertake capacity building in collaboration with all these institutions that I've mentioned. Because if you want to actually trade, if you want to actually export, you need to know the rudiments of trading across borders. As we are aware, AFTA is simply to see Africa as one market and be able to take away barriers. So custom issues, standard issues, and all those things are very relevant if you want to cross borders. And so from time to time we have been collaborating with other institutions, just as I've said. But again, we also have screened some companies, SMEs, that are ready to export. It's not all SMEs who are ready. And so we also gather them from time to time to give them capacity in terms of how to be able to navigate through standard issues, sanitary and phytosanitary issues, technical barriers to trade, and sometimes financial issues and all. On our own, we are able to organize such programs from time to time. We have a database of companies that receive some of this training. We screen them, and so we identified companies that were already exporting before the agreement. We also identified companies that had the capacity to cross the border. So we got them into our database, and from time to time we provide them with the necessary training. But everything starts, if you are an SME, you want to go into the export business, and you need to register with the requisite institutions, which includes Registrar General's Department, as well as Ghana Export Promotion Authority. These are the starting point for you to be able to.
Thank you very much. So
Thank
you know what to do. If you want to take advantage of the expanded continental market, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority is the place to go. And I think CEP begin thinking of how the heritage community, particularly the young entrepreneurs that we are incubating, can benefit. And then we can also reach out to the AFTA Secretariat to see what kind of capacity building. Kwame Chumesi Ankra.
Thank you very much. My question has to do with, so I think it will be more relevant for the kind of work that our distinguished guest has done. He has several companies in different countries. How does your outfit help individual businesses to comply to not just the standards but the laws and regulations of each country of entry?
So you have companies in different countries. You are here in Ghana, and our illustrious philanthropist and entrepreneur who this conference is in honor of is an example. He has companies in about 8 different countries. How do you ensure that you comply? And what support do we get from either JIPA or AFTA to comply with country regulations and other norms?
Well, it's all about access to information. If you don't have the information, then of course it will be difficult for you to comply. So the first and most important thing is to get the information regarding the requirements of the market. And that is one of the critical activities that we perform. And so if you approach us, we will give you the information. Sometimes we also do sensitization programs in the districts, in the regions, telling people about the need for export and what it takes to export. We also have an active information center that we run at our head office, which we call the GEPA Impact Hub. It's a physical space where you can come, and we encourage even students to come from time to time. to access information from there, because it has online information portals and then databases from where you can get the information that you require. For example, what are the necessary standards in the UK market, for example, in the EU market? How different is that from the requirements of the United States market? They are different. So all this information we can provide once you link up with us. We have offices in all the regions. We have office in the central region. Depending on where you are, you can get such information from our offices. Then, in terms of specific compliance issues, we deal with the regulatory agencies in Ghana. For example, he mentioned some of them. The Ghana Standards Authority, the Food and Drugs Authority, the PPRSD. All these three key institutions have mandates regarding compliance to regulations of the market. And so we link them up, if you need the resources, to these institutions because of the mandate issues. But we provide general information on the market. So you can contact us anytime. I would also leave my contact number. Dr. Asma has my contact, so we can share it with you, and then we take it from there.
Thank you very much. You want to add to that?
Yeah, so just as he said, sensitization is the key to all this. We at the coordination office, we work to the secretariat, the after secretariat. The secretariat that Ghana got the hosting right is playing a very vital role in terms of bringing all African countries together and making sure that barriers, tariff and non-tariff barriers are brought down or reduced drastically. And so their work, we leverage on their work. And so if country A, so for the tariff measures, we have liberalized tariffs. It's running for different regions of Africa. Aside that, non-tariff measures are also very key. And so, like he said, information is key. You need to know what non-tariff measures are. And so the secretariat, the after secretariat itself, tries to coordinate, tries to bring together the different countries and inform us on some of these measures. Make sure we harmonize them, and so that companies that wants to trade will be able to get the information from them. As I'm talking to you now, I just came from a meeting organized by UNCTAD, and it's about non-tariff measures. So the After Secretariat is trying to gather all laws and regulations that affect trade adversely, put them on a portal, and publicize it for companies or SMEs to see, so that if they encounter any such barrier, if there's a barrier, if they want to export outside and some of these laws are, put up, or, when they encounter such barriers, they'll be able to navigate it. There's also a portal where if one goes through exportation and encounters any challenge, they report, and then we deal with it at that level. So sensitization is key, sensitization at all facets, from the After Secretariat itself and then the National Coordination Office. We provide a lot of information to SMEs.
Thank you very, very, very much. So there is information available to help us comply. Just reach out to AFTA and JIPA and you get information. You can visit their portals and you will have a lot of information. So let's take one more question, if any. Okay, I have two hands up, so I'll take the two and then we will bring the session to a close. So let's hear you.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Chira Benes. Please, I would like to know which countries currently have high demand for Ghanaian products. And then...
we are struggling to hear you from here, so...
Okay, please, is it clear?
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so please, I would like to know which countries currently have high demand for Ghanaian products.
Okay.
And then my next question is, I also want to know if GEPA provide funding or grants to export businesses.
Great.
Thank you.
Which country in the continent or around the world has the highest demand for Ghanaian products? And does JIPA or AFTA provide any financial support if some startups or somebody in SME want help? That's her two questions.
Well, it's a bit difficult to say depending on the product sectors, because the non-traditional export sector, which we take care of, is a very broad sector. We have two sectors in Ghana as far as export is concerned: the traditional sector and the non-traditional. The traditional sector is made up of the traditional commodities that we are known for all these years. Cocoa beans. You know, we are the second largest producer of cocoa beans. So when you are exporting cocoa beans, which no ordinary person can except cocoa board, it's a traditional commodity. Then gold, and then the other mineral resources, and then timber. Apart from that, any other product that we export from Ghana is non-traditional. So from our vegetables, horticulturals, wood products, aluminium sheets, everything. So we have to disaggregate the products to know the markets to which they go.
So
however,
she's referring to
yes,
non-traditional.
No, what I mean is even the non-traditional, there are more than 300 different commodities. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now, let's say this. We have divided our, what we call the export destinations, or the countries they go, into the regional markets. So we have the EU markets, you have the African market, and within Africa you have the various communities, the ECOWAS community, the Southern African Development Community, and so forth and so on. However, on top of the scale, as far as non-traditional export is concerned, the number one country as far as revenue is concerned is Burkina Faso. You may be surprised. But it's Burkina Faso. That is the country to which most of our exports go. Then the Netherlands in the UK, in the European Union. And then followed by Belgium, then Switzerland, then Germany. And then we come to Nigeria. I'm talking about the top 10. And then to some extent Cote d'Ivoire. So it depends. And for these countries, the products are also not the same. Our leading manufactured products is cocoa derivatives. All the byproducts of cocoa powder, chocolates, the confectionaries and all that. That's our leading export. And these go to the Netherlands and then Belgium. Then for Burkina Faso, which is the lead overall, it is iron and steel products, and then building materials. So you see that the markets differ. Yeah, but as far as horticulture is concerned, the leading market is Germany. Yeah. So if you are aspiring to produce and export, let's say pineapple or vegetables or things like that, which do very well in this enclave, then you should be looking at the German, the Dutch, and the Swiss markets. Well, you know, I would say that de facto, Exim Bank is our funding arm, because Ghana Export Promotion Authority actually gave birth to Exim Bank, all right? And we intended it to be the financing arm of GEPA. So GEPA, we do not provide funding. We provide technical support and capacity building, market access information and these, but not funding. But however, any company registered with GEPA can apply through us, and we make recommendation to Exim Bank for support.
So whereas Ghana Export Promotion Authority tries to promote non-traditional exports to the whole world, we in the African, the AFTA office, we concentrate on the agreement that is in, helping promote, in Africa. And so, so the agreement started not too long ago, so we may not be able to tell exactly, but we are doing well with imports and other things. But gradually we are going to increase our exports and all. But again, if she's interested in the products that perhaps my colleague was talking about, then the last 2 years or the last regime we had the 17 priority products that they were promoting, including cocoa derivatives, essential oils, salt, and others. So if you are interested, you may maybe contact GEPA for them to tell you a gamut of products that they promote. Yes. Yeah, so we are all interrelated. And so Ghana Exim Bank is even now under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So if you approach us, perhaps we can link you to Ghana Ghana Exim Bank for them to help you, support you. But again, we also have GEA, Ghana Enterprises Agency. They are also good. They can train you and also lead some SMEs, lead them towards funding sources. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Alexander, earlier you touched on some of the initiatives GEPA has undertaken to support the SMEs. I just want you to please elaborate further on the specific contributions GEPA has made toward the developments and the empowerment of SMEs in Ghana. Could you please elaborate?
All right, so we've heard you already, but can you be very specific on the contribution of GEPA to the SME environment in Ghana? Zooming onto SMEs. Well, these are small businesses, startups who want to export. What support can they look forward to having from GEPA? What contributions have you made?
Well, I think I have said it in my earlier comments that I made. You know, basically, as I said, SMEs constitute close to 80%. So it is just a few companies that may be classified as big companies in Ghana, but the rest are SMEs. But let me also be clear to say that within the SME groups, we have the startups, we have the just getting there ones, and then those who are there. But they all constitute the SME class. For GEPA, we deal mainly with export-ready companies, whereas the Ghana Enterprises Agency's mandate is to take them from the ground and build them up to a certain extent. Because export international business is quite complex, if you are not ready, then you better not go there. So we have what we call the export readiness checker that we do to kind of assess whether your business is ready for export or not. So for the classification, yes, we've handled a lot of businesses, but they may not be startups, because startups are not ready for export. Because you need to get to a certain capacity stage to be able to sustain your presence on the international market. Because orders are in huge volumes. If they tell you bring 5 containers every week, you cannot. And for our impact, yes, we've done a lot in terms of the companies that we've dealt with. Just last week, we did another export school where we built the capacity of 30 different companies. I must say we have been very impactful in the cosmetics area. Okay. We have been very impactful in the artisanal chocolate sector, because GEPA is quite interested in inclusive export trade. So we deal with a lot of women-led businesses whom we train, and now they are doing very well. After training, we don't leave them alone. We take them to trade fairs. And when they get to the trade fairs, they are able to expose their products to the world. Provided they meet the quality standards and the packaging needs, they are able to get orders. And we have several examples that we can cite, which I cannot perhaps give you immediately, but we have been doing quite a lot. To the extent that now,
export revenues in non-traditional export have risen to close to $4 billion annually. And I will not say that GEPA alone was responsible, but we have also contributed to that.
Great. So let's give you a minute each to just make your closing remarks. So
Yeah.
let's start with you.
Yeah, so the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement has come to stay. I think those who thought about it and got it to this stage, people who thought well about Africa. For a long time, Africa has been trading not with itself, but with the developed world, the Western world. And the trade has not been fair. And so intra-African trade has remained below 16% for a long time now, as compared to the EU, which is like 63% and more. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, they trade with themselves to the tune of 50%. But Africa remains trading with ourselves only to the tune of 15%, which is not helping us. So this agreement has come to reverse the trend, and we have been kept producing raw materials to feed the industries in the developed world. It is time for us to reverse the trend, make sure that Africa trade with itself, make sure we also add value to what we trade in, for the wealth of Africa to stay in Africa, for us to also be able to develop, so we don't run to the developed world. So I think the African Continental Free Trade Area, like we said, is a game changer. We just started it at the nascent stages. We are going to improve upon it. Now it is trade in goods, free movement of goods and services, but we have the protocols that will bring other things on board. So we have to be hopeful and patronize whatever we bring on board for Africa to develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's take your last word.
Okay, for my last word, I would say that success in business, and particularly export business, relies heavily on information. So I would like to say that this forum is the beginning. At least we've been able to impact a little bit of information to you, but that is not all. There are more information that you need to seek, particularly for those of you who are into business now and who want to grow your business. Seek for the information, get to the right sources, use all the tools available. If you need help, please contact Ghana Export Promotion Authority or visit our website, www.kepagana.org. A lot of resources that you can get, but if you are not satisfied, our doors are open. We want to build a critical mass of young, entrepreneurial, caliber of people that will come up and help, so we can build more on our revenues from non-traditional sources. So seek for information and you would find it.
One last word. I think we are all in the Africa Trade House.
Okay.
Located close to the British Council.
Yeah,
so you can pass by.
Area there,
yes, you can pass by for
UBA,
further information on anything you need to know about what we do.
That area.
City House area.
British Council, directly adjacent to the British Council.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it all from the horse's own mouth. Don't limit yourself to the Ghanaian market. In fact, business is really about the market. And if we can learn anything from our hero, Dr. Douglas Boateng, he expanded to 8 African countries, starting from 1. And so if you are starting business, you are already in business, the message this afternoon is look beyond Ghana and look into the African continent, and look beyond Africa and look into the rest of the world. Let us give it up to Mr. Alexander Dadawa and Benjamin Peku Essien. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. We will invite Douglas Boateng to join us to take a photo, and then we will take the announcement for the rest of the day. So, paparazzi, so Dr. Boateng will stay in the middle. Good. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. you so much. We are really very thankful and grateful. Good. We are really grateful. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so whilst I wait for... okay, so tomorrow we continue. Tomorrow is day 3. And tomorrow the conversation is going